Hi, this is Josh Williams with Ronin Training Center's Advanced MMA program. I got Melvin Harris with me this morning. We are going to be working on follow-ups to the Kickstand Series. In the first video, segment we showed, I believe, on Friday, we covered just the basics of building the kickstand from full guard. All right, we're going to continue off of that today. Starting from closed guard, I want to cover some defensive things for when an MMA fighter ends up in an opponent's closed guard. All right. As I touched on before, I want to make sure that to stop him from being effective inside his guard, I got to be able to control my posture, my head, and my hands. Okay. Now, as far as getting those things, they typically come in reverse order from that. The first thing that I would need to usually worry about is my hands, then my head, and then my posture comes up as a result. As far as your hips, I always want to be deep. All right. Tops of my thighs, inner thighs, are going to be inside tight to his hamstrings. I'm deep underneath his hips. All right. I don't want to be leaving space between us like this. If there's this kind of space, Melvin can easily pull his legs up, go feet on hips. Also avoids a lot more mobility in terms of turning his hips. Okay. When I'm here, to isolate the hips, we're going to do what's called caging. My hips ride deep. My elbows come back outside of his legs, and I'm literally clamping his hips to my hips using my elbows and my thighs. All right. Now, the important part here is, and realize this is a strictly defensive position for me. What I'm trying to do is neutralize his submission attacks, especially if I feel like he's a really active guard player. Okay. So when I get here, the advantage is if I didn't have control of his hips, Melvin just start turning like angles. All right. So if he goes to spin for this arm bar, I got to be able to turn and follow him and square up. This just saves me a step so that when I get here, even if Melvin kind of has one arm, but he doesn't get my elbow inside of his hip, if I can clamp here, Melvin tries to spin for the arm bar, he never is able to turn his hip on me. Okay. So I want to make sure that if I'm caging the hips, elbows stay slightly outside of his thighs, clamping him to my own hips here. My hands stay controlled, typically at the, let's call it the pec line around his rib cage, or I can go up higher depending on my arms, my arm length. I can control biceps. I can go underneath the armpits. Okay. Once again, though, this is only temporary. This is a defensive position. I can't do much damage from here. So once I've gotten this, I got to get control of his hands. Now, if he hasn't already started hunting mine, which is usually the case, I can almost guarantee that if I'm in this position, he's going to be looking for hand control on me. All right. Now, you can do basics as far as wrist rolling. Here, just roll it free and come up and grab his own wrist. I can do it on either side. But sometimes guys just have ridiculous grip strength, and I can't get my hands free no matter what. Or they've just got big hands and you can't roll through. In which case, we're going to do a stripping technique. Melvin's got my hands. I'm going to take my left hand and cross center line of his chest and then roll my right hand over. Grab his wrist and pin it down, strip my wrist free. Now I can easily just reach down real quick, grab both, and do the same thing with my other hand. Now I've got his hands under control. Okay. From here, I can start building my base for kickstand. Another one, you're here. This is called combing the hair. If he's got double hands on my head, I'm going to come up, reach inside. I want to grab as deep as I can possibly get over top, all right? When I pull forward, the idea isn't that I'm going to pull Melvin's hands completely off my head. I'm just going to pull his hands up to about here on my hairline, all right? He won't really let me, give me some pressure. He won't let me pull his hands completely off of my head, all right? But that combined with an opening at the elbow creates just a little bit of a window where my head can pop out. Once my head is out, I keep control of those hands that I just pried off of my head, and I start to build my base. Okay? Kickstand base. One step up, lifting his hips, loading, putting pressure through. Next step up loads the opposite hip. And you notice already I'm pinching my knees in. As soon as I feel that I've got his hips loaded, then my hips come forward. I get upright posture. The advantage here should be pretty clear. He can't reach my upper body for any kind of submission attack. He can't really go for any kind of lower body submission attack either because his legs and hips are neutralized up here. He can't get to them. All right, my hips are essentially neutralizing his hips. And here's the real beauty. When we're on the ground and I throw punches, I'm on the ground. I can only get so much leverage into them. When I come up to kickstand, I'm essentially standing. So every strike that I throw, I can load up and throw with vicious intent. When I'm here, I can come down. Now notice when I throw that strike, my hips follow. I don't stay up and do this, where a bunch of space opens at the hips. My hips are constantly riding his hips. So when I strike, my hips follow. And I come down and close behind. Because a lot of times this guy will either keep me away with his legs here, trying to create space. But if a punch gets through, a lot of times what you see happening is this guard will just sort of fold. So he'll drop. And when he does, I got to be ready to follow with his hips. Once I'm here, I can keep on landing shots, but out in the open, it's more realistic to hit a pass, push my hips forward, bring his feet in front, and now I can finish a couple different ways. I can roll him straight over here, and he comes up head first where I can get a front headlock or a choke attempt. I'm here, up to the kickstand, land my shots. When I feel that his guard opens sufficiently, push forward and turn to the side. Now, if he goes down to the side like this, awesome. Usually the guy will roll all the way through. And I come to a hip ride. All right, come back. So, first bit, after we cage the hips, keep him from moving, clear his hands, get control, pop back up, build our kickstand. That's going to be part one.